Good afternoon, and welcome to today's webinar, OnBase Solutions for Human Resources, hosted by MTS Software Solutions, and I'm OnBase by Hyland. My name is John Enney, and I'm the VP of Marketing at MTS Software Solutions, and I'm joined by Kelly Schuster and Ryan Flynn from OnBase by Hyland, who you'll hear from later during the product demonstration. Being that it's 2 p.m., we'll go ahead and get started. A couple of housekeeping items. If you have any questions during the presentation, I encourage you to submit them using the GoToWebinar tools. And if there are, in fact, questions in remaining time after the demo, we will do our best to address them towards the end of the webinar. You can also submit questions anytime, as well as any other requests for information or more personalized demos by contacting us via our website, www.mtssoftwaresolutions.com, or you can email them to sales@mts-software.net. So a quick look at our agenda for the webinar today. We'll start off with some introductions, who's MTS, what is OnBase, and then cover some OnBase for human resources information as far as human resources industry trends, what we're seeing in the industry, what's important to HR professionals today, and some applications of the technology in the HR department. We'll follow that with a demo, which will be presented by Kelly Schuster, assisted by Ryan Flynn, and then, as I mentioned, we'll leave some time for some questions and answers and wrap up. So who is MTS Software Solutions? We are a technology provider that seeks to simplify, streamline, and accelerate document and data-driven business processes. And one of the primary technologies we use to fulfill this mission is OnBase. And while we've been providing business process solutions since 1981, we've been an OnBase authorized solution provider for about 5 years. And in this relatively short amount of time, we've managed to become gold partners as well as diamond support partners, as you can see on the screen with those icons. So in those 5 years have gained extensive technical expertise around the OnBase platform as well as around a number of other platforms. And that makes us expert integrators with a number of applications, as you can see on the slide with some of the examples that we've listed. And this differentiates us, not only MTS as an integrator, but also OnBase as an enterprise content management or ECM platform, the ability to integrate the technology to other line of business systems. And I intentionally use the term ECM platform when speaking about OnBase because OnBase is much more than a document repository, or as I've heard OnBase experts say, it's much more than a document graveyard where documents get laid to rest. Instead, OnBase can be viewed as a single platform that not only centralizes all of your important business content in one secure location, but also helps drive documents and data through your unique business processes faster and more efficiently than merely an electronic filing cabinet per se, and especially more so than a paper-based process. And in order to better understand the extensive functionality and modular components of the product, OnBase has broken up the product into modular components and has grouped these modular components into these 6 product categories that you see on the screen: capture, manage, access, integrate, measure, and store. And in the demo later, Kelly and Ryan will show some of the functionality that can be grouped into these different product categories. I'll mention that you can learn more about the product categories in a product brochure and workbook that is available on the OnBase website and can also be provided by MTS upon request. So as I mentioned, we're planning to cover some industry trends, HR industry trends, and the 3 that you see here are be competitive, be secure, and be prepared. So starting with be competitive, it's important to note that employee loyalty is less than a month away. According to the Center for Generational Kinetics, which focuses on uncovering the human element within generations to unlock the power of hidden trends, they say that according to their research, 33% of employees know whether they could stay at their company long term after being there for 1 week or less, and 63% know within the first month. And so what that tells us is that onboarding has to hit employees right away, and you need to make the impression right away. And so if your first day is painful or frustrating and not memorable or effective, then you're creating a risk of that person staying around, which of course has costs to the organization. So with OnBase, you can streamline onboarding and other personnel processes to provide the best possible experience for your employees, thereby reducing any risk of frustration and increasing employee satisfaction and retention. And we know that that can really have an impact to the organization. Another important HR industry trend to consider is information security. Who has access to employee files, and are they secure? And security and protection are two major concerns for any HR manager, any CIO, or information professional. And in this day and age, it's with good reason. OnBase minimizes security risk by providing top-notch security features such as file encryption, specifying who can access what and when they can access it, utilizing distributed disk groups and single sign-on to achieve this end, and much more that we won't cover in detail today. Employee audits, I-9 audits on the rise. So in 2004, 3 audits. In 2012, 3,000 audits. Quite the increase there. And according to the Society for Human Resource Management, or SHRM, there's been a drastic increase in I-9 audits, as I mentioned, from 3 in 2004 to 3,000 in 2012. And being able to comply with internal and external audits efficiently and effectively is critical for today's HR professionals. So by increasing visibility as well as facilitating effective document retention policies, OnBase helps organizations support compliance with government and industry employment regulations. Having all the content in a single secure location with a full auditable history of document activity maximizes employee accountability and also minimizes the time and expense associated with those internal and external audits, as I mentioned. So what are some of the ways that OnBase can be leveraged to address these industry priorities and streamline your current HR processes? Well, let's take a look at a couple of them, starting with OnBase Employee File Management. So employee file management enables the HR department to capture and store employee documents electronically, whether that information is keyed, uploaded, scanned, emailed, faxed. And what this does is reduce the need to manage multiple paper-based copies of documents, reduces the associated costs of doing so, and streamlines the process of managing the content overall. And because OnBase can connect with your organization's HRIS, or Human Resources Information System, HR personnel can retrieve employee documents and data without leaving familiar interfaces. So, as I mentioned earlier, OnBase consists of modular components with functionality that spans the 6 product categories. And depending on the modules that your organization would require, some of the features of an employee file management solution include, of course, standard scan, store, retrieve functionality, HRIS integration, as I mentioned, folder templates, custom queries, enhanced security features, history and audit trail reporting, external access to candidates or auditors, and much more. And we'll get a chance to see some of that pretty soon in the product demo. As you can see by the quote here on the screen by Troy Marks, an HR director with Upland Hills Health, our customers are more than happy to replace the boxes or the manila folders and the filing cabinets filled with HR personnel files that they're currently having to manage in a manual process. Another OnBase solution for HR is policies and procedure administration. And an OnBase policies and procedures administration solution can allow human resource departments to efficiently create, distribute, and track employee acknowledgement of policies and procedures. And it can do this while reducing the administrative tasks such as filing, copying, and mailing documents, of course. And in the demo, Ryan and Kelly will provide some examples that demonstrate this feature. So with an OnBase solution for policies and procedure administration, HR staff can quickly send email notifications, for example, containing links to the entire, send those links out to the entire workforce, or specific employee groups with the most up-to-date revisions of policies and procedures, training videos, or other business-critical or relevant content. Employees can then acknowledge those new or modified policies with one click, or even complete a quiz or questionnaire to ensure comprehension of the material. HR management can also identify any delinquencies or exceptions and easily determine which employees have not acknowledged and promptly notify those employees or individuals to resolve the outstanding issues. So you can imagine how this is much more streamlined with a tool like OnBase. Here's a quote from the process manager of information systems from Gallatin Steel. And as a manufacturer, employee safety and the procedures to foster safety are critical to their business. And there's actually a case study of how Gallatin Steel uses OnBase in the human resources as well as safety departments to streamline incident reporting, employee sign-offs on new policies and procedures or trainings like I mentioned earlier, and much more. And you can find that case study is available from MTS and from OnBase if you'd like to take a look at it. And finally, at least what we'll cover in my slides and before we get into the demo, an employee onboarding solution by OnBase gives HR personnel the tools they need, including automation, increased visibility, and centralized information management to improve the service that HR provides to not only new employees but existing employees from day one on the job. And what OnBase does is provides a holistic view of who is assigned to which onboarding tasks and how the process is progressing across the organization. And visibility into this process allows management to better identify bottlenecks and then plan for even further process improvement using the insights gained from the platform. Automated checklists based on role and/or department reduces the time spent manually managing onboarding requirements and makes the transition for the new hire as smooth as possible. And as I mentioned earlier, this impacts employee satisfaction and retention. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, this can have a significant cost savings on the organization of the process of recruiting and hiring new candidates. Craig LeClaire, Vice President and Principal Analyst with Forrester, a technology research firm, and his specialty is in enterprise architecture. He says that there are a number of areas that an enterprise content management solution or ECM solution can have a positive impact on a business, but he calls ECM a quote-unquote killer app for handling onboarding. And you can see his quote there that supports that. And so with no further ado, I would like to transfer the presentation over to Kelly and Ryan to give us a good look into what an OnBase solution for HR can look like. And I will pass the presentation over to Kelly and Ryan.
So thanks, John. Hello, everyone. My name is Kelly Schuster. I'm here today with Ryan Flynn. Ryan and I are both from the sales department here at Hyland Software. And today we're going to walk through an HR onboarding solution. So what we're going to do for today's demonstration is give you kind of some insight of an individual applying for a job at 9 Second Foods. So we're going to play 3 different roles. The first role that we're going to start out with is the applicant, and his name's going to be Sam Hastings. I'm going to play the role as the HR generalist, And Ryan.
And I'm going to play a manager in HR who has hiring authority.
Yep. So the first step in the process is to fill out a form. So in the standard world, maybe this form can be a paper form that's filled out with pen, can be scanned and emailed back into the system, or we want to make everyone's lives easier. So what we've done is created an electronic form. So these are OnBase forms that can be filled out either within the OnBase system or they can be external. So these forms can be available on your organization's website. As an applicant, I can go ahead and fill out the application. I can type in my name, I can type in my address, I can type in my phone number, and I can choose the position that I'm applying for. So today we'll say that Sam is applying for a sales engineer.
And what you'll notice about these forms is that they're point-and-click configurable forms. These aren't like your traditional e-forms. There's no HTML coding going on. This isn't the most creative-looking form, but this was created literally in minutes, so they're very intuitive and very easy to work with.
And we also have the option to go ahead and upload documents, so that's supporting content to the application. So for today, we'll upload the resume. So Sam would just be able to scroll out maybe to his desktop or a folder where he's keeping his resume. And we'll go ahead and attach the cover letter too. And as Ryan mentioned, these forms are completely customizable and configurable to your organization. So we can add multiple tabs. So in some situations, you may want to collect the applicant's education history or employment history. We even have the option to add your logo or possibly a signature to the form. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and submit. The form's going to be submitted into the system, and based on the notification, it's going to be sent to multiple individuals within 9-second foods. So we are now no longer playing the role as Sam Hastings, and I'm playing the role as the HR generalist, and I've gone ahead and I've logged into my OnBase system. So for those of you who are not familiar with OnBase, this is our Unity client, and you'll see it has a similar look and feel if you're familiar with Microsoft products with the ribbon. We also have the ability to set up these personal pages. So we've created these personal pages based on my user rights. So I've logged in as Kelly Schuster. I'm going to have the information available to me that I need to complete my daily tasks. So here you'll see that we're able to include forms. We can include our filing cabinet. We can also search for different document types, so maybe resumes or cover letters. But what we want to do is actually take a look at our workflows. So by going ahead and refreshing our workflow, as the HR generalist, I can log in the morning and see if I have any applications to review. So it says, have HR do a preliminary check to make sure the application is filled out correctly. So I can go ahead and click on Sam Hastings. You'll see that this is actually the application that Sam filled out moments ago. And now we have some tasks that needs to take place. So we can click on our taskbar, and you'll see here that we have our ad hoc tasks. So these are the different functionalities and options that we have available as the HR generalist. All the tasks can be configured based on your processes. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and look at the related documents. So in order for me to make a decision on the next step of this application, I'm probably going to want to take a look at the resume and cover letter. So we can go ahead and double click on the resume. At this point, we're opening the document within the Unity interface, and you'll see here on top we have some options. So we can view the keywords, we can view cross-references, we can even check the history on when this document has been brought into the system and any actions that have taken place. We have the ability to send this document, so we can send it to an internal user. Maybe I can just easily send it to Ryan as my manager. I'm able to start a discussion, and I can take a look at any notes or highlights. So I'm going to take a look at Sam's resume. And in this situation, we're really looking for somebody with team lead experience. So we'll see that he was a QA team lead in his previous job. And I want to make sure that Ryan takes note of that. So what I'm going to do is actually open our notes. You'll see here I'm able to choose the highlight. I'm going to go ahead and highlight the team lead. And sometimes Ryan's busy, so he may not notice the highlight. So I'll go ahead and add a green note to the document and just say, take a look, new team lead. So these highlights and notes are actually tracked with the document throughout the life cycle. so they can be stored with the document. We can set the privacy to the notes. So again, the only individuals who are able to see the notes are those who are assigned. So in this case, we may want only the management role to see these notes. Maybe not everybody in HR would be available to see these notes.
Another nice thing about the notes is that the notes are not going to be tracked as part of that document history, but also maybe you remember you needed to search for something, but you didn't know the index value or the keyword or what exactly you were looking for. The notes are actually full text searchable, so maybe you remembered what you had written on a particular note. You could go ahead and search that in the OnBase system as well for notes.
So everything looks good. We'll go ahead and click that out. And at this point, we'll go ahead and we'll send it to Ryan. So we're going to go ahead, click on Send to Hiring Manager Review. And at this point, it's kind of out of my queue. You'll see it's no longer in my queue. I don't need to worry about this. But this is now up to Ryan as the hiring manager to make a decision. So what we're going to do is actually click out of the Unity client, and Ryan's a busy guy. He has a lot to do. So instead of having to log into OnBase, he can actually access and view this application directly from Outlook.
So I may not be an active user of the Unity client, such as Kelly, whose role is the HR generalist. You know, maybe I'm a busy manager, and I only need to view OnBase documents every once in a while. So it's nice I can actually have OnBase integrated right into the upper ribbon of my Outlook interface. So you'll see these buttons look a little familiar because they're the exact same buttons you would have seen before in the Unity client. So roughly 80 to 90% of the functionality you'd see in an OnBase client you could actually do right from your Outlook inbox. But what's even better is that once I pull up an email, I'm also presented with those workflow tasks that I had seen before, you know, with Kelly. So now I'm able to take a look at that exact same information that Kelly was looking at before. So I can look at the application that she had sent to me. I'm able to look at that same resume. And you notice this isn't a duplicate document. You can see the same notes that we had before. We could take a look at that highlighting, showing, hey, he is a team lead. That's something that we were looking for, trying to hire. So we say, you know what, this seems like this may be a good fit for our organization. So we want to start the process of scheduling an interview, and I can do this right from Outlook. So we want to say maybe the date and time is going to be tomorrow at 7 a.m. We're going to submit that over, and now it's going to be, the ball's going to go back into Kelly's court. Now she can reach out to Sam, and they can work together to find a time for an interview that's going to work with my calendar and work for her as well. And this was all done right from Outlook. I didn't have to ever sign into OnBase.
Yep, so once again, we're going to jump back into the OnBase Unity client. As my role as an HR generalist, I can see through my personal pages that Ryan has gone ahead, sent us his dates for the interview. I can work with Sam. I can go back to my task. I can check my related items, so I'm able to see that we still have the resume and cover letter. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and get that interview scheduled. So it's asking me, do I want to send an interview confirmation to this applicant? Yes, I do. So this is following some of those same rules and actions that we showed with the Outlook piece when Ryan got the notification. We're also able to send these notifications to applicants as they walk through the offer process.
And what's nice is that what you've been seeing with our workflow so far is our ad hoc tasks where users are going to interact and make decisions. But this is an example, our OnBase workflow, one of our automated processes. Once Kelly was able to schedule that interview, we actually set up a rule where then an email was actually automatically emailed to me as the manager, and it created a calendar invite because of our tight-knit integration with Microsoft products. So I'm able to accept that invite, and now that's on my calendar, and we're ready to go and interview Sam.
Yep, so we'll go ahead. Ryan accepts, and he knows that on Friday morning he has to come back to my office, and we're going to sit down with Sam Hastings and walk through this interview. So again, I can go ahead and refresh. I can take a look at Sam Hastings. I can log into my tasks, and I'm going to go ahead and click on my related documents. So this is when we have the opportunity for Ryan, myself, and Sam to sit down and walk through the interview guide.
So this is great because now maybe we're sitting down at one side of the table, the candidate Sam is at the other side. Instead of having, pieces of paper everywhere, we're printing out his resume. Now we're able to, right from one screen, a few clicks, we're able to pull up instantaneously the resume. Then we can also pull up another Unity form, which is actually going to act as an interview guide. So we'll see we have other tabs. We're able to have our interview questions. And Kelly, as I'm asking the questions, is able to type this documentation in, and then we're able to submit the responses from Sam so they're saved into his permanent record within OnBase. Again, we're able to reference the resume, make additional notes and highlights, and we can decide whether, yes, Sam's a good fit or Sam's not a good fit. And so we'll take a look at the tasks we're able to perform. So we can begin the offer process. If he's a great fit, we could send to another manager. Maybe we notice he'd be great for our organization, but he's not really a good fit for our role, so we could potentially sign to another manager. You see, there's a lot of options. Whatever is going to be the best for your processes, we can configure tasks.
Yeah, but in this case, we thought Sam was pretty good, so we're going to go ahead and begin that offer process. So now it's going to ask us a few questions. So please enter a recommended salary. So I can work with Ryan, and we figured out probably $50,000 is good for a team lead for a sales engineer. We're going to go ahead and submit. Choose a start date. So if he's coming in tomorrow and we like the interview and everything went well, how about if we have him start on just June 15th? Go ahead and submit. And at this point, what we did is we took that information and we're automatically going to add it to our offer letter. So at this point, as the HR generalist, I can go ahead and prepare the offer letter. I'm going to go into my task. Always look at my related items to show you that we're collecting this information as we walk through the process. And I'm going to go ahead and create that offer letter. So this is password protected because obviously we're dealing with salary information and some of his personal information.
And again, that's configurable. You don't have to have that password option. Quite frankly, you don't even have to have a button that clicks create offer letter. This could be an automated process from when the manager decides to hire. It then kicks off the auto generation of the letter. But again, everything is completely configurable.
Yeah, so at this time, I did what I needed to do for my onboarding process. The final preparations need to go through not only Ryan as the manager, but also our VPs. So at this point, Ryan, since we can say maybe he's a little lazy and doesn't want to log into the OnBase system, he can go back into Outlook and actually take a look at the offer that I've prepared and make any changes if possible.
So now that offer letter is displayed and I could review something, and you say, you know what, maybe 50 is a little low, so let's change that. Let's increase that to $55,000.
So this is a live working document, so at any time we can add information, we can make changes, we can highlight, and once again, just by clicking save, we can go ahead and actually save this as a revision or save as a new document. In this case, we'll save as a revision. We'll say that we updated the salary. And we're able to see here that we have two revisions. So we will show the original document that was created, but we also have the updated offer letter. OnBase is always going to show the latest and greatest, so we're able to keep track of all changes and revisions that have taken place.
Yep. And what's nice about this feature here is we're able to set up these templates so that the majority, the legwork of the document is already created, and then once we initiate that workflow process, it then fills the blank spots with those keyword values. So it filled it with Sam's name, some of the information he filled out on that original e-form, and then as well as that amount that we chose, that was automatically filled, but the rest of it was created on the back end. So it's really easy to use, saves a lot of time in the offer letter process.
Yep, and I think at this time we're going to say, we like Sam, Ryan and I discussed, let's go ahead and he's going to approve this. Some additional questions. Will a new desk need to be built? We'll say he's at seat location, 23 on the map. Will he have a cell phone? Yep. and days of training, we'll say 5.
And again, that was just another example of a form that we put out there and we created just to get some more information about Sam leading up to his first day. Again, completely configurable to your process is not needed.
Yeah, so now the thought is Sam's going through the process. We need to get a few more reviews, so we need to go up to the VP, the finance, and once we collect all the approvals, Sam will receive an email notification that lets him know that he will be a new employee at 9 Second Foods, and on his first day, we want to make sure that he has a copy of his I-9 form, his W-4. Maybe he makes sure that he fills out his direct deposit, and then also reads some of our computer use and PTO policies. So what we've asked Sam to do is actually log into our external access client. So as a new hire, Sam Hastings is going to log in with the username provided. So this is password protected because obviously it's going to contain his new hire information. And you'll see here that we have forms that can be filled out. So as I mentioned earlier, we have this direct deposit form. Sam can go ahead and fill out his name, fill out his employee ID. He can either accept or deny direct deposit. So again, this form would be added and stored within his filing cabinet. We also have the HR emergency medical, and then the I-9 and W-4. So as you know, I-9 forms are going to be government-specific documents. We have the ability to include these forms on our external website. This form can be printed and signed and scanned back into the system once Sam applies or comes in on his new day. And then we talked about policies to acknowledge. So we have our computer use, we have our cell phone, smoking policy. So a lot of times in the HR world, we deal with making sure that everybody's, applying to the rules that are out there, and we feel like this is an easy way to give them access to the policies, make sure that not only has everybody read them, but also understands the information included in the policy. So when we log in, we can take a look at the computer use. We want to make sure that everyone's reading and understands, so you can actually set up test and quizzes at the end of the policy and procedure readings. In this case, we're just going to go ahead and acknowledge. It's asking us, do you understand? And I say yes. We will require a password. Go ahead and submit. So I'm saying that I understand, I acknowledge. And at this point, I think Sam is ready to go as a new employee. He should have all the information that he needs ready to go on his first day. So now we're going to kind of switch roles and say, this is an example of an applicant. What if you're already an employee within the organization and maybe I have questions for my HR department, or maybe I'm looking for more information related to my employee file? We also have the ability to log into your line of business system.
Yeah, so we just went over the process of onboarding, but we also can talk about employee file management, as she mentioned, for employees who are already with our company. So this would be an example of OnBase being able to integrate with those HRIS systems. Maybe it's PeopleSoft, maybe it's Infor Infinium, for example. Whatever that system may be, we're able to bring OnBase content right to you from your familiar screen. So you're able to bring up content. So we have, if you notice, we have this icon which you could configure to be put anywhere on the page. And so now let's say I'm in PeopleSoft, for example. So right in the background, we're still able to have access to all of that OnBase documentation. So the employee profile, that W-4. But what you'll notice is those documents that are in red. You say, uh-oh, we do not have the I-9. We do not have that emergency contact form. So rather than being retroactive, something may have happened. That's how we found out we didn't have that form on our current employee. We can be proactive and know that we need to take action because we're missing that I-9 form. We need to get it in the system. But when you pull up the employee profile, for example, again, you're going to have all the same functionalities of OnBase. You're just accessing this document differently. Rather than accessing it through Outlook or rather than accessing it through one of our clients, you're just going to be able to access the documentation from your line of business system. You're also able to configure hotkeys or hot clicks. So I'm able to select Shift F, for example, and this is going to actually pull up the folders and file cabinet. Now this is really the complete entire records of all the employees in your organization. It really is going to mimic the folders and file cabinets you may be dealing with in a real paper-based environment. So, but rather than having to go out there and open a cabinet and sift through pieces of paper, we're able to just pull up their electronic record. And so you see we have their application, we have their offer letter, and then we can go through the different tabs. We can go over to their employment documents, for example. And then what you see here is, we're missing that I-9, we're missing that W-4. But what we're able to do, and just for sake of demo purposes, I already have this ready, but you could get this off a file share, you could scan it in. But I have that I-9 form on my desktop with the simple drag and drop. We're able to upload this document. We could select a document type. We know it's going to be an I-9 form. And we're going to leverage that system data that we already have on one of our current employees. So this could be a database lookup into OnBase, or you could leverage the data that's existing in, let's say, PeopleSoft, for example, and populate it. It's called an autofill keyword set. So we can go ahead and we upload this documentation. And then when we go back into the employee record, we see that now it is there. We can access it, and it's no longer in red, and we're able to make swift action. Again, it's a really great way to get a complete record of your employees, and so it's a really easy example right there. So,
yeah, so I think at this point we've gone through the process of applying for a position. We went through the interview process. We provided the offer letter. We signed up Sam for his new employee portal. We showed you how to integrate with line of business systems. So whether you're using PeopleSoft or SAP or other HRIS systems, you can still store documents in the OnBase repository. I think at this point we're really done with the demo. If anybody has any questions, we're happy to answer those, or we're happy to review anything if necessary. So I think at this time, John, we'll hand it back to you.
All right, thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Ryan. And I encourage anyone out there listening, if you have questions, you can submit them now. And all right. So I'll give another moment for questions in case there are any out there. And I don't see any coming in yet. And so let me progress to the next, see if I can. And since I don't see any questions, I'm going to ask a question, and I'll ask, how can HR make a case for this technology? And I know you're probably thinking all of this looks great, but how can I make that justification in my organization? And in addition to the cost-saving benefits and the ability to scale the solution across the enterprise and into other departments, OnBase has composed a white paper that emphasizes 8 ways that Human Resources Department can positively impact the bottom line. And so I encourage you to look for this white paper, and this can be found on our website, and as mentioned earlier with the case studies and other literature can be provided upon request. And so with that, what I'd like to do is thank you all for attending and encourage you to find us on the web. I'll repeat our website here, www.mtssoftwaresolutions.com. We have our phone and email address listed there. We can also be found on social media like Twitter and LinkedIn. And there you'll find product information, updates, news, industry news, and we encourage you to find us there. And so thank you for participating, everyone, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.